The Super Bowl's done and over with. We finally have the complete draft order. So today we're going to do a mock draft. This may be the final mock draft I do until after the combine or just before the combine. I'm not 100% sure. Might take a little bit of a break, but I like doing mock drafts. They kind of give me an opportunity to go through what if scenarios. So, what can happen? Honestly, we all think we know what's going to happen, but there's always draft night surprises. Nobody had the Falcons picking Michael Penix last year. So, for this, we're going to go through a scenario today and see what happens. At number one, the Tennessee Titans are up. They're going to go ahead and do the basic thing and go Cam Ward. I think that they're probably going to go quarterback. I just don't know that you can risk not having the opportunity to get a quarterback next year. Next year's class looks better, but you don't know where you're going to end up in the draft. And I think Cam Ward's good. I'm not completely done with my film study on him yet, but if I was going to take a flyer at number one, it would be Cam Ward. At two, the Cleveland Browns are up. They're going to go ahead and take a guy that I hope falls, but probably won't. That's Abdul Carter. Myles Garrett requested a trade, so unfortunately, you got to replace him or pair him up with him for a year and hold on to Garrett for another year. Either way, he's a fantastic get for the Browns at number two. At three, it's going to be the New York Giants. This one right here, they're just going to go get their quarterback in Shadur Sanders. He was linked to him after the Shrine Bowl down in Dallas, and maybe they really like him. He does have good accuracy, but I don't think he has the mobility that Brian Dable's typically coveted in his quarterbacks. So I'm just not 100% sure it's a good fit, but reports were they liked him. So we're going to go ahead and put him here at number three in this scenario. So that leaves the Patriots at four with Travis Hunter on the board. You know what? We're going to go ahead and take him. As a Patriots fan, honestly, it's a pick that I'm a little hesitant about. I do have Hunter right now graded as my top player in the class. Not completely done with grades yet, so things can change. But even though he's my top player in the class, I do worry about durability. He's not the biggest guy, and he plays a lot of snaps. So ultimately, long term, that could be a problem for him. And it is something that I'm just not 100% comfortable with as a fan of the Patriots. I'd prefer he go elsewhere because I do feel like that's a risk and that's something that can genuinely happen and hurt his career. At five, though, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I love giving him Mason Graham, and I'm going to do it again. I think they need to strengthen that interior of their defensive line, and I think Mason Graham's a fantastic player. That brings us up to the Raiders at six. They don't have a quarterback, which is probably what they were hoping would get to him. So here, even though I think they're going to be more of a ground and pound team, you look at Chip Kelly, he knows them Ohio State guys. He might snag one of them in the second or third round. We're going to go ahead and give them a stud playmaking receiver in Tet McMillan. I think he's going to be able to come in and maybe fill that Devontae Adams role as the lead dog. Jacoby Myers is a great second piece. I just don't think he's the best number one option on a team. So at pick seven, that brings the Jets up. I think they were really hoping maybe for Tet to fall or a Mason Graham, but they're going to go ahead and take Will Johnson. He's somebody that could fall in the draft, and I don't have him graded quite as high as I thought I would. He honestly plays really far off the line of scrimmage if he's going to go deep, and I do worry about his speed being a real problem at the next level. And if he doesn't test, that's a question that might hurt him quite a bit on draft day. At pick eight, it's going to be the Carolina Panthers. And this is a guy that rose up the board very far. I just started watching his tape and I'm really impressed. And I'm going aggressive. I'm putting Matthew Golden to the Carolina Panthers at pick eight. I still think they need to add playmakers around Bryce. And here you go. Golden could be a fantastic player. It is a little early and it is aggressive putting him ahead of Luther Burden, but I can definitely see it, man. I see something in that guy. So at pick nine, it's the New Orleans Saints. I had the Saints go ahead and take a guy that I'm personally not as high on. Here's the thing, though. I see the potential, and I think in my final rankings, he'll probably get a boost because he has that potential to his final grade. But right now, he's just not this high for me. He's graded out with tape like late round two, early round three. So far, not completely done studying him yet. I'm working on hitting final grades on guys now. And from what I've seen in my early watches of him, he has the tools, but he just doesn't have it put together. And it's something that I think Michael Williams needs to work on. And he's that Trayvon Walker type. If you're going to take a swing, why not? He fits exactly what the Saints like in their defenders. So we're going to give him Michael Williams. So at pick 10, the Chicago Bears are up. This is just kind of a guy you can plug in and he'll be able to play. That's Will Campbell. I think he's going to be a guard for them. I personally view him as a guard at the next level. I do think he could maybe play tackle, but I would grade him lower at tackle than this. I wouldn't take him this high to play tackle, in my opinion. I will say, though, I've always struggled a little bit with offensive line getting the grades right because there are so many minor things that you have to look out for. And I just haven't fully, I don't feel like got the eye down for that yet. But to me, he gets pushed back a lot. And I think a lot of it's speed guys really get into his chest and just blow him back. He usually anchors and can stop, but at next level, is he going to have time? Because these guys push him back right darn near the quarterback now in college. In the NFL, I don't know if he's going to have that time to anchor if they're bigger and stronger. So I don't know. I'm a little worried about Will Campbell at tackle. I'd play him at guard, and I think for the Bears, that's exactly what they can do, and they'd be happy with it. Now, the one other thing, he has a very high stance. I don't know if that's an LSU thing or that's a him thing. He doesn't have the ability to sink and get low, and if he can't do that, he's going to struggle at guard at the next level because he's going to lose the leverage game. We'll have to see, though. That's something I don't know. So at 11, it's a guy that I don't have rated quite this high, but I'm going to go ahead and give them at he's going to probably end up playing guard, and that's Armin Membu. He could play tackle for them, but I think he's best to go inside a guard. And I honestly feel like that's the way with a lot of the tackles in this class. The only guy that I have rated very highly as a tackle so far is Josh Simmons. And I think that he would be a certified first round pick, maybe even top 10 pick if he didn't get hurt this year. And I don't mean just in this class, I mean like a top 10 grade. He was that dominant on film. Granted, he didn't really play against the best competition at Ohio State this year. He got hurt before he did, but that game against Oregon, he was going strong when he got hurt. And I feel really good about what I've seen from Josh Simmons. And if I'm comfortable in that knee, I'm easily taking him top 10 if I'm one of them teams that wants to tackle early, maybe even my New England Patriots, because he could be a top 5 graded player in this class based off of film. Because I grade guys off of film, and then I'll give him a final grade based off of everything you hear. So you hear about the intangibles, you hear about off field, you hear about injuries, you hear about, you're going to see their arm length, you're going to see their athleticism confirmed, not necessarily with the 40, but like the shuttle and the 10-yard split. And that's how I go ahead and do a final grade. And then I'll release my top 50 or 100, depending on how many people I get to. So Armin Membu, though, is a guy that I think could play tackle, probably best at guard. But you could probably start him out at tackle there if you need to replace McKivitz there on the right side. He did play, I think, only right tackle. I don't recall him playing left tackle in any of the games I watched. So I don't know. I just feel like he'd be better to go inside the guard, but he can help the Niners out here. I don't know if I'm as high on this tackle class as everybody else or O-line class at the top here. At pick 12, it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys, and I have them going ahead and grabbing Luther Burden III. I know everybody thinks they don't really need a receiver, and they need to get Ashton Genty if he's on the board. There's a ton of good running backs in this class. You do not need to reach to make sure you get Genty. I'm sorry. He's a great player, but it's a strong running back class and it's going to hurt him. And it makes sense for the Cowboys to strengthen that offense around CeeDee Lamb, take a little bit of pressure off of him, and then get a running back in the second round. Maybe grab another one in the fifth round. I think there's going to be enough talent on the board where you can do that. You can find a good combination of young backs, get yourself a veteran, maybe on a cheap deal, to come in and really stabilize that running back room. I could be wrong, but I just feel like that's the best course of action. Now, you can't go wrong getting a guy like Ashton Genty, but you can't always mock him to the same spot. You have to change it up every now and then. So at pick 13, we're going to go ahead and give the Dolphins one of my guys here, and he's actually risen up the board quite a bit. It's going to be Walter Nolan. I'm a big Walter Nolan fan, and I honestly think he can go higher than this. I have a pretty high grade on him. He showed what he could do at the Senior Bowl. We're going to put him at number 13 here to the Dolphins. At pick 14, we're going to go boring. And it's something that I've got to switch off because I think Tyler Warren really could go before the Colts and make this decision tougher for him. But for now, he's going to be a Colt. At pick 15, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to give him an edge rusher, even though they never take one in the first round with Terry Fontenot. Their fans are begging him to do it. I just don't know that he will. He doesn't have a track record of doing it. He likes to take a swing on them guys at the top of round 2. And it wouldn't shock me if he did it again. But we're going to give him Mike Green. He does have questions about arm length, and that's something that really worries me putting him this high. But I think he's a good prospect. He doesn't necessarily win with his length, so he can maybe get away with it. We'll have to see. At pick 16, the Arizona Cardinals are up. I'm going to give him a guy that I was actually pretty high on when I watched him. I did not expect it. And that's guard Tyler Booker from the Crimson Tide. I really actually gave him a high grade. I did not expect to do that. I figured he would just be a lumbering guard, and he kind of is. Like, there is some movement questions with him. I noticed when he's pulling, he stumbles and he doesn't necessarily keep his balance. But if you keep him in there and he works in tight quarters, he's going to be a good guard for you. So I'm not sure you want to put him on the edge a whole lot. So I think he'll be a good fit. We'll see, though, what the Arizona Cardinals want to do long term. I think he'd be a good fit for him. At pick 17, the Bengals are up. They're going to go ahead and take Calvin Banks Jr., and I think they play him at guard. That's the key thing here. They don't need him to play tackle. Play him at guard, get rid of Alex Kappa, plug him in. I think Kelvin Banks is a long term guard. I don't know what it is. I'm just a lot lower on him than I expected to be. I actually finished his film this week and I came away a little underwhelmed. That's not what I expected. I came into it expecting a top 10 guy in this class and I just didn't see it at tackle. He's on the ground all the time. And that's something that when I look at O linemen, it annoys the heck out of me. And it's not like, oh, he's pancaking him and laying on top. He is losing his footing left and right. And it's something that just drives me nuts. And I got to ding him for it. Like, I'm a big dude. I played O line in high school. That doesn't mean I know everything about playing, offensive line, but I do know that our coaches would ream our butts if we were constantly on the ground for no good reason, losing our footing. It's something that was kind of drilled into me, and it's something I don't like to see. So it kind of hurts him, and he's still going higher than I think he might go. I can honestly see him dropping into round two. At pick 18, I'm going to go Shamar Stewart to the Seahawks. He's disruptive, man. He's somebody that didn't necessarily get home, but he did get a pressure rate that's really high. Like, he got into the backfield, he just didn't finish off sacks. So if you can figure out why he did that, sorry, you might have heard my dog there, or one of my dogs there. But if you can figure out why he didn't finish, maybe it was just bad luck. He's really awesome on tape, and I find him to be highly disruptive and entertaining to watch. So I think he'd be a great fit here for the Seahawks. Next up, we're going to go Jahdae Barron to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, I'm a fan of two teams. People hate it, and you can scream at me for it. I grew up a New England Patriots fan, and I'll always be a Patriots fan. I will root for them over anybody else, but the Buccaneers are a team that I became a ticket holder to prior to Tom Brady. But then Brady and Gronk came in, and it really solidified my fandom. So unless they're playing the Patriots, I'm all Bucks. And I've been to many of their games being a ticket holder, and I know a lot about the team. I think Jahdae Barron could come in and be a really solid piece for him. Here's the thing. I don't know that he's the best fit unless you think he's going to play on the boundary because you do already have Antoine Winfield Jr. You could drop him back to deep safety and play that slot role for Jahdae Barron and probably make Winfield be a little bit better and not hurt so much, hopefully. And I think he's just the best player available. I think he can play outside. He did a good job at Texas with that this year. He's a tough player. He's physical. I really like Jahdae Barron. And I think it's possibly just because he was the best player on the board and I'm a Bucks fan, but I'm like, I can see this working. So we're going to put Barron here at pick 19. At pick 20, it's going to be the Broncos, and they're going to end Ashton Genty's slide. You know, they could use a running back. They could use a receiver. We're going to give him Genty if he's here. Honestly, I wouldn't shock me if Genty falls, and that's simply just because he's a running back. You just never know how the NFL is going to view him. At pick 21, the Steelers are up. We're going to go ahead and give him Emeka Egbuka. I've done this many times. But they just need a solid, steady, level-headed receiver, and he's that guy. He can move the chains. He can keep the offense going. He'll do the nitty-gritty, dirty stuff. He's okay with not being the top dog if you want to really keep inflating George Pickens' ego. And I think ultimately he's just going to be a great playmaker for him. At pick 22, we're going to go ahead and give Colston Loveland to the Chargers. I really like Colston Loveland, and I still think it's closer between him and Tyler Warren than a lot of people realize right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just how I see it. And I don't know that he falls this far, to be honest with you, but it's just hard to slot a tight end in because you never know. Once again, they're another position that'll go lower than people expect. And it's not necessarily like in the draft. For them, it's more so at the top of the draft. After you get out of that like top 15 range, it's more okay taking them, but they're more like a late 20s, early round two type selection in a lot of classes. So I really find I really have a hard time finding a spot for them. At pick 23, it's the Green Bay Packers. This is somebody that I have graded basically right now. It's still not completed yet, depending upon injury. He's graded based on his tape right now the same as Will Johnson for me. Like, he is that high of a selection. But we got to worry about his hip, and we got to find out about that. I don't know if we will. But if we hear anything, it'll kind of make things better as far as his injury goes, and he might be able to shoot back up the board. But for now, we're going to say the Packers are comfortable with it, and they take him here at pick 23. At pick 24, it's going to be Kenneth Grant heading to the Minnesota Vikings. I like Kenneth Grant to go earlier in this. I got to be honest with you. He's another player that I have a big grade on, but he's more of a defensive tackle, more of a nose guy, so I can see him dropping. He can penetrate and disrupt the passer, and I actually think that's something that's really underrated about him. But I love Kenneth Grant, and, nose tackles dip a little bit, so we're going to have him go here at pick 24. At 25, the Texans really want to get their offensive line taken care of, and they're going to go ahead and do that with a guy that's probably more of a round two guy just because of the fact he played at a small school. But we're going to give him Gray Zabel. He was awesome at the Senior Bowl. He showed up. He balled out. And he made himself a lot of money. In this situation, he goes round one. Next up, we're going to have the Rams go Josh Simmons. I hate mocking him this low because I love his tape. But the knee injury, you just never know how the league's going to view it, and you don't know how he's going to heal. And that's why he drops. He is awesome. His tape was phenomenal. Granted, he did not play against Ohio State's toughest competition, but he's a great player. At pick 27, the Ravens are up. They're going to go ahead and knock out another offensive lineman here in Josh Connerly Jr., and they're going to improve their O line across the board here. I do know that they have the right tackle situation basically taken care of with Roger Rosengarten, but at left tackle, you do have to worry about Ronnie Stanley still being there. And honestly, he's injured so much, it'd be best to move on and get a young guy in there. I know Connerly got blown up by Mike Green at the Senior Bowl, but don't read too much into that. He was voted the best O lineman there, so take everything with a grain of salt. It's one rep. Bad reps happen for even great players. At pick 28, the Lions are up. I'm going to give him a guy that I'm still higher on than it feels like everybody else, and that's Nick Scorton. I have Nick Scorton graded probably 10 slots higher than this so far in this class. Like, for me, it's not that he's picked to go at that slot. Like, my grade's different. I actually grade him based on what round I would take him in any draft. But in this class, to me, he should be right around that 15 range. I really like him. I got to finish up his tape. I'm not completely done. Some of it, I'm still, I think, betting on Purdue because I really was impressed by that. But he'd be a great get for the Lions. Lose a little bit of weight, put him next to Aiden Hutchinson, and the Lions would be ready to feast. At pick 29, the Washington Commanders are going to go ahead and take a guy that really fell in this draft, and I don't expect this to happen, but it's somebody that I'm just not as high on, and that's Jalen Walker. I don't think he has a true position. I think he might be able to play edge. I don't think he's a linebacker. He doesn't show any instincts at that position at all from what I watched on tape. The only thing he was good at was spying the quarterback. In coverage, completely uncomfortable. He just doesn't have that natural instinct to be a linebacker. So if you view him as an edge, okay. I just don't think he has the length for it. He has the explosiveness, but I don't think he's polished. And he relies solely on athleticism, and it worked. But everybody points to the first Texas game. And to me, that first Texas game was not as impressive as stats would have you believe. And that's not a popular thing to say and do, but it's the truth. He had two spy sacks. His third sack, he kind of was locked up with the left tackle. Quarterback stepped up. He took him down. I think it might have been Arch on that play. I can't remember. It might have been Quinn, but it wasn't like super impressive. He didn't beat anybody with a move. He just shed and got the sack on left tackle Kelvin Banks. So you know he's explosive and he has a chance. But to me, he's a very raw player. And he's also a tweener that you just don't know if it's going to work out. So I'm lower on him. I let him drop because I'm more comfortable with it. I increased Michael Williams' value. And to be honest with you, if I was betting on one of the two, I'm betting on Michael Williams to put it together first. I don't trust the size of Jalen Walker, and I don't think that he's as productive as people think he is. I don't know. That's just my view on watching him on tape. It's not that I'm a hater. I know I'm wearing a Gators hat, but I just I don't know. Maybe once I finish this tape and I watch a few more games, I'll feel better about it because I watch games earlier and give him a grade. And then I go back through and I watch four games and I'll give him his final grade. I still have to do that. So we'll see if that's going to make my mind be changed. But that Texas game, I watched that tape right after that game. I think a week or two after it was out and I was able to watch it. And I just wasn't as impressed as I expected to be. Now I will rewatch that tape and I'll watch some of the bigger matchups at the end of the year and see how he did, see if he developed along the way. Because I also watched an earlier game of his as well. Maybe my tape, grade will change and I'll feel better about him when I finish the evaluation. But for now, just not as high on him. At pick 30, the Buffalo Bills are going to go ahead and take Jahad Campbell at linebacker. I love Milano, but he can't stay healthy. I think Jahad Campbell could come in there, be an excellent player for him. He has way more instincts than Jalen Walker. He could play the edge. He has the size to play the edge. He was an edge coming out of high school. I don't think the Bills need him to play edge, but it just shows his versatility, and he has some instincts at linebacker. I think he'd be a great get. You pair him with Milano, let him learn from him. Excellent draft pick by the Bills. At pick 31, the Chiefs, who lost the Super Bowl, everybody rejoiced because I swear I just didn't want to hear about the 3P. I know I'm a Patriots fan, so that's part of it. But the other part was, man, they're just insufferable. So it was good to see him get knocked down a peg. So at pick 31, they're going to go ahead and take Derek Harmon. He'd be an excellent pick for him. There's just no tackles available. I don't think Ursari's a first rounder. Cam Williams isn't a first rounder. Savania is not a first rounder. Milam's a guard. Donovan Jackson played well at tackle, but I still think he's a guard. So there's just no tackles available. So they're going to go ahead, go to the D line, and get Derek Harmon. He's just a fantastic player. I hate to see him go there because he's a disruptive guy to stick next to Chris Jones, but they need help there. They're going to lose people. They need to always restock. You've seen what the Eagles did. Go ahead and do that. Get a Derek Harmon in there. Now, the Eagles are also going to go with another guy I'm not as high on, and that's James Pierce Jr. I just simply do not view him as highly as everybody else. I see that he has an NFL frame as far as like they think he can add weight. The thing is, he's been at Tennessee, he's been in the SEC, and he just hasn't done it. I'm not confident he's going to add the weight people think he is. He's okay against the run. He's not dreadful, but to me, he's with at least with what I've watched so far, I can't pick him. He's a DPR. That's it. And I don't think that's a first round guy. I think that's a second round guy who needs to develop and then become a starter. And to me, he's got a second round grade for that reason. He's not a day one starter. He's not an immediate impact guy. He's a bottom of the second round guy to me because he needs a lot of work to get himself to be a full-time starter. Just my opinion, though. Very easily could be wrong. You'll notice one of my favorite players in the class, Malachi Starks, didn't go. He's getting a lot less hype than what I would have expected him to get. He didn't play quite as well this year, but when you look at his tape, he did a lot, man. They just had him doing too much, and I think that's what hurt him. Plus, their defense wasn't as good as it normally is, and they just put more pressure on a star player like that. And I think, honestly, it did bad things to him. And it caused him to play a little slower. He didn't do what he normally does. And I think if you go to the NFL and you simplify a little bit and you let him just play and play free, I think you'll be all right. And I still have him graded very highly, but the NFL's a little lower, and he's a safety. So I just have him slipping out around one. He would go like very top around two, personally. Don't think I'd let that happen if I was a GM, but in this situation, it was just the best thing to do. We had a run on offensive line here, linebackers, another run on D line. Like, it just didn't happen at the end of round one. So I want to thank you for watching. I want to know what you guys think down below. Leave your comments. I love talking about the NFL draft, and I do have strong opinions. I watch these guys, and I do watch all 22, so I get the best vantage point. And I don't consider myself a football genius, but I love doing this, and I've watched a lot of tape of a lot of guys over the years, and I feel like I have a pretty good read on what makes a good prospect. So I want to hear what you guys think down below. The best thing about draft season's having debates, so hit up that comment section, and I'd love nothing more than to debate with you. I'll be respectful, and I'll tell you my point of view. I want to hear yours, because maybe I'll learn a thing or two that I didn't know. Just appreciate having you here. Please hit that like button. Have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.